Greetings, beautiful people. My name is Javan Okelo. I am the host of Madaraka Festival Podcast and also the founder of Madaraka Festival. Today, we are here at Seattle Art Museum for one of the residencies that have been doing this summer with the podcast. It's really a privilege to be here at Seattle Art Museum and especially to have a sit down with Senayet Negusse, who is the deputy mayor for SeaTac. Senayet is a mission-driven leader with more than a decade of experience across government, non-profit organizations, and education. Deputy Mayor Negusse has served on the SeaTac City Council since 2020 and currently holds leadership roles across public safety, finance, economic development, regional collaboration, and human development. She also serves as program manager with King County and represents SeaTac on the National League of Cities Human Development Federal Advocacy Committee. Deputy Mayor Negusse, welcome.
Thank you. It is my honor to be here with you, Simon.
Yeah, I'm really privileged to be sitting down with you, and I'm truly privileged also to know about the impact that you're making in the community.
Thank you.
I want you to take us back to a time when you're like 10 to 15. Share with us some of the colors, some of the smells, some of the sounds that can help us learn more about you beyond your title as the deputy mayor.
Yeah, so I grew up in the beautiful community of White Center, in a multicultural community, Ethiopian household. So envision burgundy rug, dark household. Could see the smoke from the incense flowing throughout the room. I hear the roasting of coffee beans, the blends, and the smell of coffee. I don't drink coffee, but the smell of it brings me great peace.
Me too.
Coffee, right? It is, it's the embroidery on the dresses. The stacking of all the dresses on the couch before a large celebration, a graduation, a baby shower. And the chatter, honestly. Our house was never empty. Our house was a community home, door always open, people flowing through and in and out. And so that is the household that I grew up in. That was my childhood. It's just constant sense.
I love it.
Community.
I love it. I really love it because I can relate to it. As you're talking about the stacking of clothes, I grew up in a household similar to that where, laundry was done, but it was almost like a part of the decoration of the house, Yeah. So as a lifelong resident of South King County, how has growing up in this region shaped your values as a leader?
Yeah. So for me, it's been incredible to just grow up in the diverse community of White Center, honestly.
Yeah.
We grew up taking care for each other. It was empathy from the start. Understanding from the start. I was talking to my sister about this recently, and my friend group was so diverse. And I never even thought to ask, where are you from? Because we didn't see each other as different. It was just this sense of belonging that was felt among all of us. But we spoke different language, had different skin tones. And some of us had, similar struggles where, our parents, were not native English speakers or came from low-income communities. But honestly, it didn't matter because we took care of each other. I grew up in a community full of mentors without even knowing that's what it was at that time. It was, going to the Salvation Army as a kid, going through their church program. And then I became a volunteer. I became a mentor and an employee, right? And that continued. It was experiencing different cultures again without naming it. It was going to, the Kamai market on Saturday. It was going to my friend's house to make Mexican food and, mixing of all the different peppers to make our homemade salsas. And that is something that has shaped my leadership, is to always look at the person and come from a place of understanding, come from a place of empathy, come from a place of just community and connection, and always leaving room for that mentorship.
You describe yourself as someone who does not pretend to have every answer, but is relentless in finding solutions. What does that philosophy how does that philosophy guide your leadership?
Yeah. I'll first say that I don't think anybody has all the answers.
Yeah.
I spent the last, 10 weeks in the hospital with my uncle who had a recent accident. And so many times I was asked by the doctors and the specialists, like, oh, what field of medicine do you practice in? Because they thought I was a medical practitioner. And I would say, oh, no. Like, I don't work in this space. I work in systems.
Yeah.
And for me, I did take pride in that. It's because if I don't have the answer, I am relentless in finding the solution. That means I am asking the questions. I am reading the research. I am searching for the answer. Whoever has the answer, I'm picking up the phone and, asking anyone that I know to find the answer, because that's the difference between not having an answer and having a better hope for a better outcome, right? Yeah. I understand that if I can get to where we need to, that the solution may be there. And so that's what fuels me. And my approach in leadership is looking at the whole system, looking at the whole person, and really trying to find what is standing between the solution.
Right. You have worked across government, nonprofits, and education. What lessons from those sectors have most influenced your approach to public service?
Yeah, my approach to public service is, it's evolving, and there's a term in Amharic, and the word is bamulu. Bamulu. And that word means whole, complete, and full. And that is my personal philosophy and framework when I am working in public service and in my home. I grew up in a very interconnected community. It's collective. It was never about independent. And I think these systems operate in such a fragmented way. We have entire agencies that are divided into departments and divisions and subdivisions. And that is not in the context in which humans operate.
Right.
You must look at the entire person. And many times we work to solve problems from one perspective. We're addressing the symptom of an issue or responding to a tragedy. And that is not how I want to operate. I want to, again, take you back to my childhood of understanding and empathy and looking at the whole person, because that is the context in which people experience these symptoms. It's all interrelated.
Yeah.
So that's how I show up in public service.
I love Bamulu. How do you say I am Bamulu?
You would say I am Mulu. I am whole. Yeah, I am whole. And that is the term. Yeah. And so that's the framework that I'm developing right now, is Bamulu framework. And that's just how I'm operating. And I would like to teach people to really consider and remember humanity and these systems working in the context of nonprofit, education, government. We place labels on people. We say the Black community, the disabled community, and we forget to look at the person. And similarly, again, spending time in the hospital, we're looking at the data. We have all these different practitioners looking at my uncle on a sheet of paper, right? As he sits there in a coma, and they're telling me these different things. And I'm a data person too, but I believe at the end of the day, I looked at all the notes, I did the research, and then I remembered to look at my uncle at the end of the day. Every day, I sat beside him 8 hours a day. And I remembered that we in our shared humanity often forget the individual person who is impacted. And that is what has inspired me to really think Mulu about things, so that's my philosophy and how I approach things.
What does serving as deputy mayor of SeaTac mean to you personally?
Yeah, it's pretty meaningful.
Yeah.
I would say, if I'm being honest with you, to me, it's just a title.
Yeah.
Right. I've always been in service of my community. And so when I became, an elected official, it was just like, okay, this is like another way I'm serving my community. And it's only recently, to me, had significant meaning. And that is because over the last year, I've been really engaging the youth at the local high school. And they take so much pride in calling me deputy mayor.
I do too.
Right. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I was just, even just like about a month ago, we were at the local McDonald's with my kids. They're at the play place, and a group of students walked in. They're like, "That's our deputy mayor. That's our deputy mayor." And I was just like, wow, like they really like me. It really means something to them.
It does.
Right. Yeah. And so now I see it as it's a great honor, and it is a privilege. Yeah. And for me, it's investing in them and really being accessible to them. Sometimes we're pulled in so many different directions as elected officials, and it's really reminded me that no, this is where I need to spend my time, is with the youth, so that we build that bench and that pipeline. Give them access.
SeaTac is one of the most culturally diverse communities in Washington. How do you ensure that immigrant, refugee, working class, and historically underrepresented communities help shape the city's decisions?
Yeah, thank you for that question. That's important to me, just growing up in an immigrant household. I spent my childhood, and now till this day, being the interpreter. I'm the one who set the appointments, right? I was at age 7, memorizing Social Security numbers, and navigating a bankruptcy for my parents while I was applying for college. Like, I understand that struggle and continue to experience the system on the other end by serving my community in those spaces as they continue to navigate those things. And for me, one of the first things that I did was really push for just universal access, language access, and having a greater presence and meeting people where they're at, developing those partnerships. And so that is how we involve people, is building that trust through those relationships, through our presence, and inviting them to participate in these conversations, and let them know that they can shape these decisions, right? And so that is, those are some of the ways that we've tried to increase access. Our council is incredibly diverse. We speak 7 different languages, I think, on the council. We all have different backgrounds and stories and experiences. And so it's a privilege and an honor to serve on that council as well.
It's incredible. What are the most urgent priorities currently facing SeaTac residents?
Yeah, so right now, I'd say just like everyone else, public safety, homelessness, substance use abuse. But we're also a very unique community in that we host the SeaTac International Airport, which is run by the Port of Seattle. And right now they have the Sustainable Airport Master Plan that's been published. And that's essentially the airport's plan to develop and expand over the next several years. And while we recognize the importance that brings into our community, economic development, access to the Pacific Northwest, it also brings many challenges for our small community. We are impacted heavily by pollution, both noise, air pollution, which leads to, our community members, whether we see it or not, higher rates of cardiovascular disease, premature births. And so many of us, we're a working class community, right? And so we just want a place to live and our kids to have access to school. And so that they have 31 near-term, short-term projects. And that's a big deal. And so for us, it's really to focus on any mitigation strategies, including acquiring North SeaTac Park, so that we have some tree canopy, so that we have access to green spaces for our families. And so that's one thing. We've also recently acquired 8.5 acres to develop our civic core, a civic campus where people can come. One of the things that people say, again, we're 10 square miles, our city, and half of it's owned by the airport.
Yeah.
And so we're a very, very small community, and people often feel overlooked by the airport. Like we just don't exist. And so it's really important, as environment, to have space for our community to come, to connect, to build, to create, to enjoy. And so really, we're putting an emphasis on really understanding what is it that people want to have and to see in our community, because we have a huge opportunity right now. Those are some of the top things that we're working on right now.
How do you navigate competing policy, legal, budget, and community interest while keeping people at the center of your decisions?
Yeah. I mean, I think you just said it there. It's keeping people at the center of my decisions.
Yeah.
Where do we have the greatest impact? When I address an issue, it's always in the context of all those things you said. It's the processes, it's the policies, legal, budget. But at the end of the day, for me, it's the people. My mom is my greatest inspiration. She was an orphan. So she never had access to formal schooling. She grew up abused. But somehow she ended up in a refugee camp and became known as the mother of mothers. And was the cook, was the healer, was the person that everyone came to. And to me, when I think of a system or a policy or a program, I always think, how would someone like my mother receive that? How would someone who doesn't speak English? How does someone who doesn't drive? How does someone who has, needs to overcome some challenges, how will that impact someone like my mother? And so when I go into these spaces, I'm often thinking about, the single mom working 2 jobs. I'm thinking about the father, holding 3 jobs. I'm thinking about the child with a disability. I'm always thinking in the context of real people experiencing these systems and where I can make the greatest impact in my decision making. Because at the end of the day, that's why I'm here.
Yeah, incredible. You are appointed to the National League of Cities Human Development Federal Advocacy Committee. What does this appointment mean for SeaTac?
Yeah, it means we have a presence at the national stage. It means that we get to share those stories about our residents and raise issues that matter to us. And so it's been a privilege to not only share those stories, but also to hear about other solutions that people are incorporating in their cities, to bring back resources into our community, whether it's for workforce development programs, take positions on veterans issues, immigration issues, and so much that, housing and all the things that impact our community. It's just been a really powerful space to hear from other jurisdictions and to really push back, especially on this administration.
Which federal issues such as workforce development, education, public health, immigration, mental health, or housing are most important to the communities you represent?
Yeah, we are in SeaTac, one of the most diverse communities, as you said. We have a huge immigration population. But what I will say is that these issues are all interconnected.
Yeah.
It is so hard for me to speak to one of them because, again, we don't exist as in one part of the issue, right? Maybe somebody's more impacted by housing than they are mental health, right? But it's all interconnected, right? Your immigration status might impact your employment status, right? And what you're able to access, right? Your mental health stability and where you're at in life might impact your ability to retain and keep and stay stably housed. And so it's important for me, again, going back to Bamulu, is that we're looking at these issues in the context of the whole person. And that is something that I learned in education, is that, a child walks into a room and, some kids are coming in at a 2 because they're coming from stable households, they're coming, fed, they're coming showered. And then you have another kid who's coming in and walking into the room at a 7, right? And as a teacher, I can't look at this child and say, oh, he's a problem child. I need to see and uncover, who is he? What is going on? Is he coming from a stable household? Has he eaten? What are the things we need to look at, the context in which people exist? And it's not from one perspective, but from all angles, and try to address it together.
How can local leaders ensure that the priorities of smaller and diverse cities are heard at the state and federal level?
I'm sorry.
How can local leaders, for example, ensure that the priorities of small, diverse cities like SeaTac, are heard at the state level and also the federal level?
Absolutely. Thank you. Sorry about that. For us, it's really just building those connections and working with our regional partners. We, I think especially are fortunate to be so connected to neighboring cities, right? I was talking about the SAMP earlier, and the airport impacts, and we have, a coalition, we work with the city of Des Moines and Tukwila and Burien, and bring together our resources to advocate collectively, on behalf of our communities. We have things like Sound Cities Associations and other regional committees where we are participating and drafting legislative priorities on behalf of our communities, because again, we know that this doesn't exist in isolation. It's not unique to SeaTac. Maybe some issues are, but a lot of them are collectively felt across our region. And so we know that when we come together, we have a stronger voice and are more likely to get laws changed. So yeah, that's one way.
How can local governments create greater economic opportunities for immigrant entrepreneurs, small businesses, artists, and cultural organizations?
Yes, the talent is there. I'll tell you that. We know that. It's just access. It's access. It's access to the opportunities, access to the funding, access to the space.
And maybe even reducing the barriers. Once access is there, some of the funding and resources available there are so many barriers baked into them, like you can get this grant, but you have to, it's a reimbursement grant. You can get this grant, but you have to jump all these hoops, Anyway, so I was just adding that because these are issues that I've also witnessed firsthand.
You're absolutely correct. And I actually recently, sometimes I get out of my legislative and get into the executive at the city, and I try really hard not to. But I recently was supporting with reviewing a contract, and it was that. It was a small women minority business owner who was trying to do a creative project on our behalf, and she encountered the same thing where it was like, she didn't have the capital, right? She had the skills and the expertise and the relationships, but she couldn't do the reimbursement model. And so I challenge us as leaders in this space to try and simplify and remove those barriers to the maximum extent possible, because we're the ones who are missing out.
You're known for bringing yes and mindset to complex challenges. I want you to share with us your perspective of building trust among people with different ideas and opinions. It seems like you're very good at, bringing people together for the greater good.
Yes, thank you. That is something people often will call me like diplomatic. And again, I think it's just coming from a place of empathy. I still believe in win-win solutions, believe it or not. And I work hard to get to that. And I don't take no for an answer. Because there is always, most of the time, like 99% of the time, I believe that there is a pathway forward. And if they're not, then we're not looking hard enough. We're not looking at the root, which I think is key. Somebody's not at the table. We need it's just, So for me, it is, in terms of like working with people, it's listening to understand. It's remembering their stories and their backgrounds and saying, I remember Simon has this skill set. This agency said that they were interested in investing in kids, right? We might not have the money, but they said they were interested. There are resources out there. There are people with the necessary expertise. And I just believe that if we just take the time to listen to one another, understand their perspective of where we're coming from. And sometimes it's very difficult to listen, right? When somebody has a very different perspective than you, and they have very strong opinions that you disagree with. It's hard to sit and listen through that. But again, for me, I try to understand, because if I react, then we get nowhere. But if I take the time to listen and honor, their experiences, their perspective, then it leaves room for us to open the conversation. And the moment it gets tense, I say, hey, I listened to you. Can you try to understand my perspective or my community's perspective, and let's find a pathway forward. And so that is something that I wish honestly more people would do, is take time to really listen to understand, because there's always something to be learned from someone, even if it's like, I don't like that person, or their perspective, so I just
imagine that you are at the playground at the McDonald's where you took your kids the other day, but this time around you run into young women. And they've asked you, young women of color, and they've asked you to give them advice because they are considering running for office too. What advice would you give them?
I tell them that they are more than capable. That they are brilliant. That they should not shy away from an opportunity to be in service of their community. And to never lose sight of themselves. I think that being in this space over the last 6 years, you come up with some, folks, you run together, you run campaigns. Some of your campaigns are successful, some of them are not. And I think that, I've seen people lose campaigns and try again, and they get to even a better position, right? A more influential position, maybe at the state or even national level. And I think for me, just don't doubt yourself. Keep trying. And even if you're not in this space, there's other ways to influence and make a difference. But I think for me, bringing your whole self into this place is what has sustained me. There have been many times where I'm like, I'm done, I can't do this. And then I go home and I'm helping somebody fill out a healthcare application, or I'm, fighting the bank or whatever it is on behalf of my community. And I'm like, oh goodness, this is why I'm here. These systems are so messed up. They need people like us. They need you. They need to understand the lived experiences of people in order to change the systems. Because some people, if you've never really experienced the challenges, how is it that you're supposed to find the solution? You
cannot, What gives you hope about the future of SeaTac and South King County?
I think the new leadership, the diversity in perspectives and backgrounds of our leaders in all spaces, not just in the capacity of government. I'm seeing that our youth are becoming so much more involved and engaged. And that to me is so inspiring and fuels me to want to go back into the classroom, honestly. And so I'm inspired by our youth. I'm inspired by the people who are taking the chance to run for office. I recently was, I didn't know it, but I was helping an ASB campaign for Tyee High School. I met with the students and was talking to them. And I just was so inspired, asking them what policy would you change? I had them come into City Hall. I had them sitting in the seats, and I asked them, like, what is it you would change? And some of their answers were so profound to me. It's just like really thinking in the context of like criminal justice, and education. They want to address issues like truancy and like absenteeism and real things, right? I asked them so many questions, and they have the answers.
When your current term concludes, what impact do you hope your leadership will have made?
Yeah, I hope that, I was elected at 24. And for me, I think I just leaving the door open, that access. I want to make sure that access both in every sense. Universal access is important to me. Language access and infrastructure for individuals with disabilities. I want the government to work for the people it's intended to serve. And access is the first point. And for me, it's to make a meaningful difference, knowing that I, spearheaded, bringing the life jacket station. I, pushed for language access at the city. That, I jump-started and pushed for the initiative of our small business, a safety program, and like things like that where it's able to sustain itself, right? And people are connecting and continuing the good work. That's what I hope is that just things are better.
Yeah, it's incredible. If there are residents of SeaTac who are listening to our conversation and they want to be more involved, they want to follow you and stay connected, how can they do that? Look at that camera and let them know. I'm pretty accessible to my residents, as they know. You can call me. I'm happy to meet you for coffee. Please come to our city council meetings, join our committee advisory boards, participate in our incredible programs. We have programming all throughout the year. And of course, you're able to follow us on social media as well. Some of the council members have individual pages, including myself. So please connect. Look at that also and invite them to subscribe to Madaraka Festival on YouTube.
Yes. And please do subscribe to Madaraka Festival on YouTube.
Fantastic. Just one more thing. What final message would you like to share with our audience about leadership, service, and building stronger communities? Just so that everybody knows, we ran into each other as we were walking into the museum and you ended up interviewing me for a while.
I did.
I almost lost my job.
No. Well, I human connection, I think, and this will be my answer too, is that I'm a mother, to 3 beautiful boys. And I want so deeply for them to be safe, to have access to opportunities, and to be accepted for who they are. And our shared humanity requires me to want that for every child, not just my children. And I think that we often lose sight of that. And for me, I was fortunate to grow up in a home where mahabar, community, was the foundation. Empathy and understanding is at my core. That is who I am. There's no Senayet without that. And I think that for me, being community made, that is part of my identity. And so that is my leadership style. And I think that I encourage people to remember that behind every policy, behind every program, behind everything that we pass, there is a person on the other end. And to remember and to take time to listen to those stories, because that is often how I find out what, and understand, like, what are the barriers and what are the solutions to these problems. It's literally by talking to a person to understand who they are, where they come from, and what can we do different so that we can work towards a better outcome. Deputy Mayor Negusse, thank you for joining us. Thank you. And for sharing your journey, your leadership, and your vision with the Madaraka Festival podcast audience. Yes, thank you for creating the space for us today. Thank you, Simon. And to everybody that joined us, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Leave your comment down below. I really want to know how today's conversation impacted you. And I can't wait to see you in the next episode. This is Madaraka Festival Podcast, where we go beyond the music. Peace. Peace.